Okay guys, welcome back to another video on Honest Waffles, and today we're going to be talking about how it is impossible for a woman to fail at life. You probably heard various guys on certain platforms saying life on easy mode, life as a woman is easy. For men it's actually hard, we have to work hard, and women, they just get everything handed to them. So we're going to be covering that in depth in this video today to see what's really going on. And just to throw this out there right at the beginning, this is something that all men need to accept. I believe that all men need to accept this, and the earlier that they do it, that women, it's impossible for them to fail at life, the better they will be, the better state of mind, the better mindset that they will have, the earlier guys that accept this. So we're just going to jump straight into the content now, but just quickly before we do that, if you want to support me as a creator, the best way to do that, as always, is to purchase a face rating from me and looks maxing advice. The link will be in the description, but without further ado, we'll just get straight into the content. So first of all, I wanted to go over a few things which show that life is easy for women, because we all know that life for women is easy, and I've just got a few bullet points here which kind of show what's going on and why women have life easier, some of the benefits that women have in life that us men just don't. And some of the biggest ones that I've got down are, the first is infinite SMV. So as a woman, provided you're at least not a bottom 10 or 20% in terms of attractiveness woman, any woman that's in the top 80% of looks is just going to be, they're going to be having so much male attention that they're not going to know what to do with it. And that's why the vast majority of women fall into this pattern of just rejecting guy after guy after guy. Like, you see these videos online of a woman swiping on Tinder, and she's literally just like bang, 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 just non-stop swiping away of these guys. She doesn't want to date any of them, and unless it's like a top 1 or 2%er. That's what most of the women, the top 80% of women, think that they deserve nowadays. And you can understand why they believe that, because as a woman, if you're getting that much attention from men, even if you're not all that attractive, you're not even that high up there yourself, but you're still getting loads of attention, then of course you're going to fall into this pattern of rejecting guys. It's the only way you're going to be able to deal with the male attention. Otherwise, you're going to be setting up dates, about 5 or 6 of them every single week. You're going to have so many dates, so many guys that you're not going to have to know what to do with. However, when you contrast this to the male experience, it's just a completely different way that we experience dating. Unless you're in the top 5%, if you're in anything in the bottom 95% of guys, you're just going to be getting no choosing signals, no women looking your way. Dating is hard, and you're going to have to go out there, and you're going to have to put in some work. You're going to have to work on your looks. You're going to have to make yourself attractive, and you're going to have to get in some volume. You're going to have to approach 100 women or more if you want to get any serious number of dates lined up. That's just how it is for men. And this kind of ties in with the next point, which is almost the catch-22 of this thing that I'm talking about, is that for men, even if you do go out there and try to make an improvement to your dating life, chances are you're going to get called creepy a lot of the time. Even if you're doing nothing wrong, you could go over to a woman completely sincere, not being rude or, or anything like that. I might have to mute that word out. If you hear a beep after I've said that word, you can understand why, because the way that YouTube has gotten nowadays, you can't say anything without getting censored. So if you're a guy and you just approach a woman, if you do it enough times, 100 plus times, chances are you're going to get called creepy at least 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And it's not nice. Of course, it's not the worst thing in the world to experience as a man, but as a woman, you're just never going to have that experience. You're never going to be called creepy, which is ironic as well when you think about it, because women are the ones where if they did approach men, they would have a very easy time doing it, and they would, get numbers, dates set up so easily, and they would never get called creepy. But at the same time, they just don't approach men because, well, they don't have to. So that's another advantage that women have. The next one, I think this is quite a big one. Mental health is taken way more seriously for women than it is for men. If you're emotional as a man, and I'm not saying that you should be emotional, but this is just a point in itself. Sometimes guys, their mental health isn't looking too good. But if you are in that state, of mind where you're a guy and your mental health isn't doing too good, you don't really have any options for people to talk to. And for the most part, you're just shut down and at worst case, laughed at. Like, people don't take emotions of men very seriously. It's just about, toughening up and getting on with your life. And to be honest, I kind of see the same way. I'll make another video about that in future. That's kind of what you have to do as a man. It does show a difference that as a woman, if you're emotional, you're going to get everything handed to you. You're going to get plenty of support. There's plenty of systems in place to make sure that women are looked after. People will listen to them. If you cry as a woman, then you're going to have loads of people giving you sympathy and they're looking out for you. But as a man, you just don't have that experience. The example that I've always gave to try to show this is that if you're anything in the nightclub scene in the UK, and I'm sure it's similar across the Western world as well, same in America, Canada, Australia, etc., that when there's a woman either like crying or throwing up or any sort of distress that she's experiencing, whether she's outside or in the toilets or whatever, whenever she's experiencing this kind of distress, she's immediately surrounded by people, and people are looking after her. If she's outside, then you'll have a bunch of men saying like, trying to protect her. You'll have a bunch of women trying to protect her. People will be booking her a taxi home to make sure she gets okay. There's a lot of protection, and people are looking out for the woman who's in a dire situation, and that's a good thing as well. Bear in mind, I'm not saying that that's bad. That's exactly as it should be. Meanwhile, you see the exact opposite for when it comes to men in this situation. That if they're not doing too good, if they're a little bit rough, if they're throwing up outside the nightclub, they are just left to rot. No one's going to be looking after you. No one's going to be booking you a cab, unfortunately. You just got to suck up and make sure that you're, all looking after yourself. That's basically how it comes down to. That as a man, you're on your own. You got to look after yourself because no one else is going to look after for you. And that's how it is. The next point, these are two ones spoken a lot about in the manosphere, child custody and alimony. In the vast majority of court cases where divorces happen, that the sides are rigged against men and they go in favour of the woman. That's just how it is. That as a woman, if you are in a court case, in a divorce, 9 times out of 10, in fact, that sounds like an exaggeration, but I'm pretty sure that's actually the exact figures. Not in 90% of cases, the woman is given the child custody by default. It's only in very rare, extreme circumstances when the woman is, say, going to prison, that the man is given child custody. But in the vast majority of other times, it just goes straight to the woman by default because the kids will go under her belt. And when that happens, that means that you as a man, more often than not, are going to have to pay alimony, child support. You're going to have to be working. You're not even going to see your kids, but you're still going to have to be paying a fortune, load of money to go to them. And in fact, it's not even going to them. That's, I think, is the biggest kicker, which is that more often than not, when women get child support, it goes to their bank account. They can spend it on whatever they want. They can spend it on themselves, a nice car, restaurant meals, going out to see their friends, another man for all intents and purposes. And it scarcely ever goes to the children, which is where it's intended to go. So that's probably the biggest kicker about this whole child support situation. But this isn't the video for that. It's just a basic overview. The next point, women are believed a lot more than men in any situation. And this is especially true when you see domestic abuse cases or, any sort of violence in the household, that automatically the woman is automatically believed. And even if she's lying, if a woman hits you first and then you retaliate, or you don't even try to hit her back, you just restrain her and hold her arms or pin her down, something like that, to make sure she calms down. If you do that, which is completely fine, there's nothing stopping her from spinning the story. And if you grab her wrists, chances are you're going to leave a bruise or two on them, in self-defense, and she can then use that against you, and then you're, going to have a huge potential legal battle on your hands, or at the very least, your social circle is going to be decimated, because in any sort of cases like this, if she complains to social media, all of her friends and even your friends are going to side with her just by default. That's something else that you got to look out for as a man. The next one, this is the final one that I've got down on the list, and it's actually funny because this so often contradicts what the mainstream propagates today, which is that they say that it's much easier for a man to get a job, and it's harder for a woman, that women are oppressed in the workplace, all of this stuff going on. But anyone who's actually experienced what it's like, and I've even seen a Reddit story which says the same thing, that it's actually easier for a woman nowadays. It's reversed. I remember the Reddit story that I saw. This guy did his own experiment of this to see what was really going on. He created a fake profile, a fake application of a woman applying for various computer science jobs, programming, coding, things like that, at a bunch of different companies. And I think he did it for 100 companies to see how many he would get interviews back from and how many he would hear back from. And it was something ridiculous, like 75 of those companies offered interviews or, wanted to hear more. Meanwhile, him as a man, he did the exact same thing, because that was the field he was in. He applied for the same 100 companies to see how many he would hear back from himself. And it was something extremely small. It was like less than 20. It was the reverse of what the woman was experiencing. So, that again just shows that as a man, you're going to have to work harder, no matter what position it is, in dating, in the workplace, or in the courts. Then you're going to have to fight. You're going to have to, work harder if you want to get what you want to get. As a woman, you're just going to get more things handed to you. But anyway, all of these things that I've just walked over now, they certainly show that life is easier for a woman. But that's not the title of the video. The title of the video is that you can't fail life as a woman. It's impossible to fail. So all of these things don't mean that it's impossible to fail as a woman. They just show that it's easier. But despite this, I still think that it's impossible for a woman to fail. And I'm going to try to prove that in this final segment of the video. So how are we going to prove it? How can we prove that it is impossible to fail at life as a woman? Well, if you take a look at this chart that I've quickly pieced together here, this is a map of your life. All of the major decisions that you can make, either as a man or a woman, the decisions that you can make. And I'm going to show that even if a woman makes all of the wrong decisions, so if you look at this chart, every single decision she makes, there's 5 in total. If she takes the bottom path every single time, life is still unfailable for her. She is still going to be fine, and she's still got a get out of jail free card to make sure that she's never suffering, and she's never in a terrible spot. She's still going to be just fine, living a decent lifestyle. And if she can get to that position, even if she takes the bottom path on every single step of the way, then that automatically entails that all of the above pathways that she could have taken, with some good decisions made in there, that all of those positions are still impossible to fail at life. So, you can understand the point I'm making. If a woman takes the bottom road every single time and she still doesn't fail at life, then it automatically means that women who take the top paths also can't fail at life. I hope that makes sense. So let's get into it. What are the good and bad decisions that a woman has to face over the course of her life? Well, the first one I've got down is teenage promiscuity. Every single woman, providing she's not, again, in the bottom 10% of attractiveness, will have to, will probably get faced with this decision in her mid to late teen years. She can either go around snooping around, seeing a bunch of guys, get involved in the school dating scene, university dating scene, or she can choose the path of diligence. She can stay at home, preserve her value in the dating market, work on actual things in life that are going to benefit her long term, such as practicing a hobby, learning a skill, learning a musical instrument, something like that, something that's going to benefit her long time. Every woman is faced with this, and I would argue that the women that choose the bottom path, the teenage promiscuity path, they are picking the wrong move. That's the tempting decision that a lot of women face, and a lot of women do end up choosing that. But I would say that's a bad decision because they're not educated on what that will mean for their dating value later down the line. And that's partially propagated by the mainstream media today, which is telling women that it's completely okay to go around, see a bunch of guys, and it's not going to affect you in any way. Like, you go girl, that sort of idea is being propagated. But it goes completely against what is the truth. And the truth is that the women that do stay at home, the ones that do be diligent and work on their life in other areas, they're the ones who are going to be seen as higher value later down the line. So that's the first one. The second major decision is college or no college. And I already know that I'm going to get a lot of backlash on this point, but I will just throw out there that I do believe still that women that go to college, they are on the right path. Women who choose not to go to college are picking the wrong option, just because of the fact that if you look at the data, people that go to college, both men and women that is, are performing better in every single metric. They're in better shape, they go on to make more money, they have longer life expectancies. You know, there's all of this data that's showing that people that go to college are ending up better off. However, I can appreciate that, you know, correlation doesn't always mean causation, which is why on the next rung, I've put, you know, the caveat to that, which is starting a business. And I'm living proof of this as well. So, you know, I know that college isn't the only option and it's the only way to succeed in life as a man or woman. There are other alternatives. And one of the biggest avenues, alternatives that you have as a man or woman is starting a business. And as I say, I'm living proof of that. I did go to college, I dropped out to pursue a business, and this is the business I'm doing. For anyone who doesn't know, this stuff that I'm doing online is my full-time job. So, you know, I am living proof that starting a business is another alternative that you can do, which doesn't entail going to college. However, let's say that the woman doesn't pick this path. So she doesn't go to college and she doesn't start a business either. So now she's got moving on to the next option. And you're going to have to forgive me for the fact that I've moved the chart, but unfortunately my camera is blocking a little bit of the way. The next option that she has is either minimum wage work. You know, because she's got no qualification, she's not got a college degree, she's not got a business, she's going to have to go into minimum wage work, or a best case scenario, a few dollars per hour above that. But for the most part, her option is minimum wage work if she doesn't choose either of the previous two paths. And even this would be, you know, a good start. There's a lot of guys out there that don't mind dating the waitress or, you know, the Starbucks worker. There's plenty of women that are still attractive, even if they pick this path. Like, you know, at least they're working, at least they're making a living for themselves. It's not much, but at least they're doing that. But even then, a lot of women don't choose this option because they think, you know what, I'm going to delay getting in the real world. I'm going to delay doing something with my life actually productive. I'm going to go traveling. I'm going to waste time. I'm going to explore the world, go to a bunch of different countries, sleep with a bunch of different men. And that's going to be the way that I'm going to get fulfillment. And I'm going to release a whole new video in future saying why traveling is a terrible idea for both men and women, that is, when you're in your late teens and early 20s. But I'll save all of these talking points for that video. For now, I think we can all accept that if a woman has to choose between either minimum wage work or traveling, in terms of, you know, your long-term financial prosperity, like obviously in terms of fulfillment, it might be better to do the traveling. In terms of dopamine, it's certainly better to do the traveling. But in terms of long-term financial prosperity, you're better off doing the minimum wage work, I would argue. And same goes for dating value as well. Like a woman, if she goes traveling, she's hammering her dating value into the ground, because most guys know that women who go traveling are no good, that, you know, they've probably been with a bunch of different guys in these foreign countries. They don't know where they've been. They've not been diligent. They've been going to these foreign countries, going with whoever. So, you know, that's often comes across as a red flag for a lot of guys. Now, as for the final option, after she's made all of those mistakes throughout her late teens and early 20s, so teen promiscuity, no college, no business, goes traveling for a few years, her final rung is to stay single. And if she picks this and she finds herself in her 30s or God forbid 40s, because she's been, you know, messing about through all the periods before that time, then fair enough. Like, you know, life is, you know, pretty bad for her in that position. Has she failed? I don't know about that. And the reason why she hasn't is because it's actually impossible to get to the very end of this chart, because the alternative to staying single is marrying a beta. That's what I've put as the final life decision after a woman has made all of those mistakes, what option she has. And every single woman has this option. So the reason why it's impossible for a woman to fail at life is because even after making the first 4 mistakes in life, she gets to the 5th one, and you never actually fully commit to the bottom path. You've always got the option to track back on yourself and end up marrying the beta. And you can ask women who, you know, give up the traveling ordeal in their mid-20s, let's say she's 25 now, she can now choose to marry the beta, or she can just hold off for another 5 years, 10 years. I've seen plenty of women, you know yourself, women get married at 35 nowadays. There's plenty of examples of that. And, you know, she could have no money on her hands, but provided that the beta had worked hard and had a business of his own, or a higher paying job, he's going to be able to provide a lifestyle for her, you know, and she's going to get off scot-free for making all of those mistakes, purely because of the fact that she's going to be living off of the man she marries back, the beta provider. So the point is that a woman, even if she gets to that point and she can choose to stay single, she never actually gets to the finishing line of that, because she's always going to have the option to marry a beta. And some guys are going to come back at me and say, oh, but what happens when she finally hits the wall and she's in her 40s or 50s? Then she's screwed. Then she has no options. No, it's not true. Trust me, I have a friend who's a lot older than me. He's something in his early 50s. And the dating options that he has available, he says that the women who are the same age as him, so in, you know, between 45 and 55, they've still got plenty of options. They can still marry the beta at any point in their life. And women have prepared for this as well. This is what you've also got to remember, that ever since women started getting their first male attention, at, let's say, 16, 17, 18 years old, they're going to be friend zoning a lot of guys. All of the guys that they reject along the way, they're going to get put in the friend zone. And some of those guys will eventually, you know, fall out of the friend zone. They'll marry women themselves. But you're always going to have some that stay there. There's always going to be some guys who are perpetually in the friend zone and don't fall off. And no matter what position the woman is in her life, no matter what mistakes they make, those guys will always be willing and ready. As soon as a woman texts them back and starts investing in the conversation, those guys will always be there for that woman and ready to start dating her, get in a relationship and marry her eventually, to start a family. That those guys are always going to be there. And that's a fact for all women. As I said, even my friend who's got women dating options who are in their late 40s and early 50s, they're in the exact same position. The fact that the opinion that women eventually reach an age where their beauty gets to a point where they no longer receive male attention is a complete myth. If you want more confirmation of that, check online on YouTube. There's plenty of Tinder experiments where they have some ridiculous scenario of a 70-year-old granny who, you know, is at max a 1 on the scale of attractiveness, but still gets plenty of matches, still has plenty of options. So anyway, that's the video. That's, you know, my take on how I believe that it's impossible for a woman to fail at life. Let me know what you think in the comments below.